I passed the FIFA Agent exam in 2024, and here are the things I did to pass the exam. And I'm going to give you these tips so that you can use to apply and pass the exam as well. So the first thing that you have to know is the exam is a structural, or you have to use a structural approach to pass the exam. And here are the things I did. So one thing I learned that I have to read the RSTP very well. So you have to read the RSTP. The reason is because the RSTP carry about 30% of the questions. The second thing also I learned was to read the FFAR very well because it carry about 40%. And if you join those two topics, that makes 70% of the exam. Which means if you can work on those two topics very well, which means you are already needing just some few things to pass the exam completely. Because the RSTP and the FFAR carry majority of the questions. As if you have been practicing a lot of more questions, you're going to see that most of the questions function about on RSTP or FFAR studies. Then now the rest of the study materials can come with different things like the FIFA Clearinghouse, Football Tribunal. Of course, you still need to study that, but you need to focus on these two topics, as I said. Okay. Then the next thing I also did after studying those two parts, the next thing I did is I had to know the structure of the exam so that I shouldn't be facing any surprises. What do I mean by that? The structure of the exam is, first, you have to learn that it's a 60-minute exam. So you have to know that you'll be writing the exam for 1 hour. And then there's a multiple choice question, which is 20 questions that you're going to be answering. And each question, you have to spend 3 minutes on a question. So you have to be very careful so that you don't waste your time answering a question which is challenging and take maybe more than 10 minutes of your time. So here is the thing I did before I passed. So when I entered the exam, the first thing I did was to answer the questions I know best. Then when I answer the ones I don't know, I leave it because I'm going to use the study material to answer it. So let's take, for example, if in this 20 multiple choice question, I think I answered, in my case, I answered around 17 because I had read the exam very well. I answered 17. So I was left with 3 questions to use the study material, and I was left with about 35 minutes. Then I came back now and I started using the study materials. And everyone knows this is an open book exam. So how do you use the study materials? As I always teach you guys, the first thing that you have to know is you have to know the table of content. It's very important you learn the table of content, because if you don't know the table of content on exam day, it's going to be challenging to you. Okay. And so to learn the table of content, what that gives you is when you go into the exam, if they ask any question concerning RSTP, you know that, for example, RSTP is page 159 on the FIFA study material, page 2026. So you just go to page 159, look at the table of content, and then find that topic, because most of the things that they write are on table of content. You go there, find it, and then go straight to the page number. People also use another method. Also, you can use people use people use a keyword and try to type it on the search bar. You can use that, but there are also many. It's also challenging to use the keyword when you have, let's take, for example, if they say something of transfer representation. If you use a keyword like representation, it's going to be challenging because there are a lot of words representation. So if you type that, you might get 100 representation, and that delays you. But this is how you can use this method. So you use the table of content and then use the keywords so that it's much easier. Okay, so these are the things that you have to know, and you also have to know that the exam, you have to have 15. It's 75% pass rate, which means you have to pass 15 questions out of 20 questions. And each question, if they give you a single question, that question, let's take, for example, they give you a single question, that question has 3 answers, and you have just 2 answers right, you have failed the whole question. So these were the things that were at the back of my head where I was going to write the exam. So it made me already know what I was going to expect from the exam. So made the passing process for me not easy because the exam is challenging, but a little bit much easier because I knew what to expect. Okay, so when going to the exam tomorrow, because I'm filming this video today, 27th of April 2026, and you guys are writing tomorrow, 28th and 29th. So when going to the exam, if you're writing on 28 or 29, when going to the exam, these are things that you have to think. That First, you have to pass. You have to make sure you have a 15 out of 20. 15 out of 20 of the questions, and then you have to also know that the RSTP before getting into that hall or before sitting to write the exam because you're writing at home. You make sure that you have learned a lot about the RSTP and LLR. Believe me, everything 70%, about 70% are going to come from there. And then also there's one thing that I have to make sure I tell you guys. The exam also, it doesn't mean that each question is going to come straight from how you see. They're not going to ask you how long is a representation agreement. That kind of question might come, but they may flip it and try to make it in a way that you don't actually find the question in the exam. You actually use your brain. Okay, so they don't give just straight questions. So you have to learn how. That the reason why you read you read the study material and then practice the mock question is that you feel how the exam comes, how they set the exam, because not all the questions, they don't give you direct plain like it's in the study material. They try to challenge your brain, try to make you think out of the box. So most of the questions are going to be coming also, but they might use certain tricks that they don't come that you have to use your brain to also think. Okay, so as I said, study a lot of past questions as well, because that's going to help you. A lot of those past questions, they repeat itself most often because the exam comes in a way that the machine just do something, throw 20 past questions to another person, give another 20 past questions to another person. So each individual have different questions. So if you have been reading a lot of those past questions, you're going to find out also tomorrow that some of them are going to appear the same as you have been seeing in the study materials, or as you have been seeing studying the past question. Because for me, there are many past questions that came exactly as I was studying, because I used to study a lot of past questions. So the same, I got also a lot of past questions. So these are the tips that I'm giving you guys. So put this in mind before you get in, practicing the exam, or before going into the exam hall. It's going to be very helpful for you guys. Okay, that was it for this video. I just thought I have to give you this video before you're writing tomorrow. Although we have been studying also a lot of these things, but remember these things. And for those who are always joining me live, I'm going to be live today at 9:30 p.m. Eastern European time. So if you have time, join me and let's study one more time before you get into the exam. Okay, take care and bye for now. See you soon.